Hello and welcome to the Fighting Spirit Podcast. As always, I'm Jason and I'm here to bring you the fight picks for UFC 250, where Amanda Nunes will take on Felicia Spencer for the featherweight women's title, or the 145-pound division. We're also going to go over our UFC Fight Night Woodley versus Burns picks. In that one, we went 8-3, or around 73% accurate, and we got all three of the Patreon fights right. We were killing it overall last week. Let's kill it coming this week. Let's get into it. Here's the show. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the UFC Fight Night where Gilbert Burns dismantled Tyron Woodley. Like I said, we went 8-3 that night, all three Patreon fights right. That included Burns. That also included Jamal Hill and Royval in his debut to take on Tim Elliott. So we got all three of those right, 2 underdogs, 1 favorite, and that ended up being excellent value for your money if you were on the Patreon. But besides that, 8-3 overall anyhow, so we killed it like I said. And let's talk a little bit about some of the fights that I really liked there. So obviously the Gilbert Burns-Tyron Woodley fight. Tyron Woodley, I hate to break it to, fans out there, but I think this is probably or possibly the last time that we're going to see Tyron Woodley in the octagon. He's kind of proven, be it the fact that he's doing other stuff, the TMZ stuff, the rap stuff, anything else outside of the athletics or fight game, that I think he's done taking that part of his life seriously, and I think he's done fighting top echelon opponents. And if he's not fighting top echelon opponents, who is he going to step in and fight up-and-comers, fight prospects, be a gatekeeper? No, I don't think Tyron Woodley is going to do that, so I think that he will now exit, at least for the time being. I don't think he'll come back short of a number one contender or a title fight in the future. Had he won this one, maybe he would have fought Covington. Maybe that Covington fight is still even there. But if it's not Covington, it's not for the title, and it's not somebody else who gets the fire in Tyron Woodley's belly going, I just don't see him going out there and fighting again. He looked not necessarily slow, but he looked hesitant to pull the trigger, kind of like he did in the Usman fight. Didn't look as explosive. He did have a couple of flurries that looked like Tyron of old, but his counters, his speed, his footwork, he just was, his takedown defense even, it wasn't really that great. We had Burns almost score a submission and a ground and pound on him in the contest. And then obviously, he dominated him on the feet in stand-up, which is a place that Woodley should have at least been adequate at, and it just was not the case. He was outstruck basically 3-1, and he didn't do anything else. Didn't score his own takedowns. He did stuff a couple, but that's really the best thing we can say about this Woodley performance, is that he was adequate. And adequate is not a place you want to be at in the UFC. You've got to be on the top of your game, especially when you are coming in against such a high-level opponent like Gilbert Burns. Let's talk about Gilbert Burns, though. He now has made a name for himself at the 170-pound division. He's on a great fight win streak, and he's now has defeated the biggest name to date. Before that, it was Damian Maia, but I think we can all agree Maia was a little over the hill. And whether or not you want to say Woodley was over the hill, he was the most recent lineal champion at the 170-pound division, and he is a big name to carry forward for Burns. What's in store for Burns now? Hard to say. I think the Edwards Usman fight could definitely come to fruition. So could be Masvidal. I don't think the Covington fight is necessarily there, but I think Gilbert Burns fighting Covington is a great fight to make, in all honesty, and I can see that one taking place. So we'll see how things play out in the future here, but I was really happy to see Gilbert Burns get a win. I like him as a fighter. He's very entertaining, and I look forward to seeing him fight some more and to call some more of his fights. Then let's go forward. Augusto Sakai, Blagoy-Ivanov. Not much to say here. We got this one correct. Kind of a boring-ish heavyweight matchup. Split decision win for Sakai though, so we did get that one correct. Billy Quartaniello, Spike Carlisle. This one probably should have been fight of the night for sure. The Brendan Royval, Tim Elliott fight that we did get correct was the fight of the night. But Billy Quartaniello and Spike Carlisle probably should have been. I mean, those guys were back and forth. And Spike, the Alpha Ginger, he threw everything but the kitchen sink at Billy early on. And he got completely gassed out, where Billy was finally able to turn the tides midway through the second round. And then finally just really make it a one-sided affair going into the third round. And that's where things finished out. So Spike, hot out of the gate, could not maintain the pace, and Billy ended up drowning him in those deep waters. We did not predict this fight correctly, but hey, that's just how it goes sometimes. Roosevelt Roberts, Brock Weaver, we nailed this one again. Roosevelt Roberts defeats Brock Weaver. Solid fight. I think everybody can redeem themselves. Brock Weaver's got a past, and so there's a little bit of sweetness in watching him get defeated. But I'd like to see him come back. I'd like to see him still try to become a better person, a better fighter. And I like Roosevelt Roberts too. He is a great competitor, and obviously he got it done in a nice fashion. Second round rear naked choke. So hats off to him. Then we have Mackenzie Dern. I don't know if she necessarily deserved performance of the night money, but she got the first ever ladies leg submission at any weight class. Mackenzie Dern defeats Hannah Cyphers via knee bar in the first round, and shows off her BJJ skills for sure. So I was happy to make that call. We got that one correct. And another one that we did get incorrect: Caitlin Chikagian defeats Antonina Shevchenko. Chikagian just had her way with Shevchenko, put her on the ground at basically the start of every round and kept her there the entire time. Great performance out of Chikagian, and we did get that one wrong, but hey, is what it is. And we got Daniel Rodriguez versus Gabe Green, late replacement for that one, but we got that one correct. Jamal Hill, again, that was going to be a Patreon pick. We got that one correct over Kilson Abreu in the first round via TKO. Brandon Royval, another one, fight of the night money. Brandon Royval gets an arm triangle on Tim Elliott, shuts the door. Good work out of us here. Good work out of Royval. Then we had Casey Kenny, Luis Samolka. Kenny picks up a win for us. And then finally, Chris Gutierrez, Vince Morales. We got this one wrong. Morales ends up taking a loss. So 8-3 overall. All the Patreons correct. And we're coming in with a full head of steam to go into UFC 250, where Amanda Nunes is going to take on Felicia Spencer. And let's get into that one. All right, so they don't call her the Lady Goat for nothing, but Amanda Nunes is going to be taking on, or the Lioness, is going to be taking on Felicia Phenom Spencer at 145 pounds for the ladies' featherweight strap. And in this one, I kind of alluded to it with the whole, they don't call her the female goat for nothing, or maybe, one of the greatest of all time, regardless of gender. But Amanda Nunes is going to get the job done here. I do not see Felicia Spencer giving Nunes too much of a problem. Did Felicia Spencer take Cyborg the whole way to decision? Yes. Did she get a first-round knockout in her last fight? Yes. But are any of these women on the level, besides Cyborg, you can argue is similar level, but are any of them on the level of Amanda Nunes? And no, they're not. And when you raise it to that level, like a Cyborg, she does not get the job done. I do not see how Felicia Spencer wins this fight, in all honesty. Obviously, the boxing, kickboxing, all of the stand-up game is going to be Nunes all day. Felicia Spencer does have a great background with, wrestling, so her takedowns are crisp. Her submission game is there. She does have 4 submissions over 8 wins, so 50% of the time she's getting it done that way. But look at everybody that Nunes has fought. She's fought submission artists before. She's made them crumble. Valentina Shevchenko has a ton of submissions, and when they were on the ground, she was not able to get it done. Look at Raquel Pennington, another one, has some submissions, has some game, was not able to get it done. Now, I know that Pennington's at the highest level, but you go back, look what she did to Miesha Tate, another BJJ star. We're going back. Amanda Nunes has beat all of the greatest female fighters, whether they rely on a mix of grappling and stand-up, solely stand-up, or just try to get submissions. She defeats all of them. I do not see how Felicia Spencer, even with her, decent thick frame, is going to be able to do it. Also, another thing, Nunes is bigger. She does actually have a size advantage. She has a small 1-inch reach advantage, and she's a bit taller than Spencer. So even though this might be Spencer's natural weight class at 145 pounds, I still do not see how Spencer gets it done. Crazy things can happen. Nunes could have, not trained that much for this fight. She could have been distracted with other stuff. She could have had her head out of the game, and that's honestly the only way I see Spencer winning. We got a Buster Douglas situation here. We have, Tyson doesn't take it seriously. Douglas takes it as the most serious thing he's ever done. If that's the same kind of mentalities here, where Amanda Nunes is fighting off the couch and Felicia Spencer's doing 12-hour days in the gym for 8 weeks, then maybe we'll see a great upset here. But I just cannot see it happening. The numbers don't see it happening. Vegas doesn't see it happening. And Amanda Nunes is going to retain her 145-pound strap for sure. Whether or not she wants to keep it, that remains up in the air. I don't know if she's going to want to, defend both belts, but that's a question for a later day. And Amanda Nunes, the Lioness, is your winner in this contest. All right, so for your hardcore MMA fans, and yeah, your hardcore MMA fans, let's go with that one. You're better than casuals. The rest of this card is awesome. The problem is, if you're a casual fan, if you're somebody who, off and on buys these, this is not the blow your hair back card of the year. It's solid. It's got some great contests on it, but it definitely drops off a bit starting with the co-main, and that's no knock on who the co-main is. It's just for the, penultimate pay-per-view before the big one in July, I think that the fans just expect a little bit more at this point. I think they expected bigger names, maybe 2 titles, and especially given all the, COVID and everything else going on, I think we all just expected a little bit more. But this is what we're getting, and I like it. The card is stacked. There's no debuters anywhere, even prelims, and it's a solid card. So I just wanted to talk about that because there is kind of a drop-off that we haven't had to talk about in quite some time outside of, a fight night. All right, let's talk about the co-main, though. That is going to be Cody Garbrandt taking on Rafael Assunção. And, drum roll, please, I am picking Assunção. Now, you might think, oh, man, this dude's lost it. The numbers have caused him to commit, statistical suicide here. No, I'm picking Rafael Assunção to get a win here. So, you're probably thinking I'm a little crazy, and I thought I was crazy, too. I double-checked the numbers myself. But look at Assunção's credentials, right? And we got to go all the way back to 2016 where he lost to TJ Dillashaw, but he was a great champion when, bantamweight division was in its early years. But who did he fight after he lost to Dillashaw and his comeback in January of 2017? Fought Aljamain Sterling, won a split decision. Then he goes on and fights Marlon Moraes, wins via split decision. Guys, a couple fights, Matthew Lopez, Rob Font. So now he's on a 4-fight win streak, and then he fights Marlon Moraes again, and then he takes on Corey Sandhagen. He loses both of those. The loss to Marlon Moraes, guillotine, he gets caught in the first round. Hey, stuff happens. And then obviously the Sandhagen fight, he loses unanimous decision. That one is a straightforward loss. But it seems that if you're not the best of the best, if you're not a Moraes, who just, fought for the title not too long ago when he took on Cejudo, and he fought Jose Aldo, right? You're not the best of the best like that. Aljamain Sterling is also on this card, fighting Corey Sandhagen. He beat him. And if you're not the top tier guy, you're not going to get it done. So let's look at Cody Garbrandt, because I've established this whole idea that, Rafael Assunção only loses to the best of the best. Cody Garbrandt, 3 losses in a row. 2 to Dillashaw and 1 to Pedro Munoz. Now, let's look back though. Clearly, he has to have a better body of work than his last 3 losses. Not really. So 2016, right? He beats Mitsugaki, a guy that was hot, a guy that's fallen off the earth at this point. And then he goes ahead and beats Dominic Cruz unanimous decision December 30th of 2016. This is the Nunes-Rousey fight. Let's just put it in perspective. Nunes-Rousey. Okay, it's Ronda Rousey's comeback. This is how long ago this was. And he hasn't won a fight since. This guy realistically has not won a fight in over 3 years. And ring rust, I think, will be a bit of a factor because he hasn't also fought in a year. He lost to Pedro Munoz, and he's been knocked out 3 times. He was TKO'd, KO'd, and TKO'd again. And even though I know Assunção is not the most dominant striker in the world, he does have a few knockouts, and he also has a great submission game that I think he can use to wear on Garbrandt. Garbrandt is a great talent, but I feel like his fight IQ has let him down in every fight that he's ever been in, most recently, except for that Dominic Cruz fight. That was a fight where he was dialed in. Is he still dialed in? I don't know. He doesn't seem to be the fighter that he was when he took on Cruz, and I don't think he's going to be able to defeat Assunção. I've looked at the numbers multiple times. Now, I do want to say one thing. Out of the metrics I have, 2 out of the 3 pick Assunção. 1 of them picks Garbrandt. I just want to be transparent with that one. But I'm going with Assunção here. He's the official pick in this co-main event at bantamweight. All right, and our next one at bantamweight as well. We are going to have a 7-fight win streak going up against a 4-fight win streak at bantamweight. We are going to have Corey Sandhagen take on Aljamain Sterling in what will be an amazing bantamweight contest. This is a fight that I actually like more than the co-main because honestly, I feel like they're trying to give Garbrandt kind of a name he could potentially beat and, go on from there. Whereas with Sandhagen and Aljamain Sterling, these guys are the contenders for the title shot at 135 pounds for that vacant belt. So in this one, I really honestly, my heart of hearts, I want to pick Corey Sandhagen. Okay, but the numbers pick Aljamain Sterling. Okay, so this is one where my heart and my brain cannot decide who is going to win. But Aljamain Sterling has looked so good lately that I think he cannot be denied. He's also fought some great names: Cody Stamann, Brett Johns, Jimmy Rivera, Pedro Munoz, all wins. When you look over at Corey Sandhagen, they're solid wins. They're just not quite as good. Mario Batista, John Lineker, and Rafael Sunsao. Good names, okay? Split decision win over Lineker, but still a win nevertheless. Good wins, but not as good. And I think the body of work for Sterling, who is a little bit older here, who has a little bit more experience, I think will show, and he will be able to get the job done. Now, let's not overlook the fact that Sandhagen is a big boy at 5'11" and 135 pounds, whereas Aljamain Sterling is more of your common, 5'7" fighter here. Let's though take a step back. The reach advantage still with Aljo. Aljo is very lanky for this class, 71 inches versus Sandhagen 70. And if it does get to the ground, where both of these guys do like to play, obviously Sterling a little more than Sandhagen it seems, but those long, thin arms of Sterling's, okay, not they might be thin, but they're still strong. They're going to be able to get in and grab the neck of Sandhagen, and I think he is going to be able to get a solid submission stoppage against Sandhagen. The only thing I want to say in the back pocket for Sandhagen is his fight team. I like Serra-Longo and Aljamain Sterling, but they are not always the best coaches in the world, and there is this other disadvantage as well. So Serra-Longo is on Long Island, right at sea level, and elevation fight team where Sandhagen is up in Colorado, where you definitely get the advantage of fighting at altitude or training at altitude, and that could be a factor if we get into the later rounds, where I believe that Sandhagen will have the gas in the tank to go a little further than Sterling. So just keep that in your back pocket. But I think overall skill set, overall determined will to win, that's going to be with Aljo, and I am picking Funkmaster Sterling to pick up a win in this bantamweight contest. All right, in our next one here, we are going to have another Elevation Fight Team member in Neil Magny take on Anthony Rocco Martin, an American top teamer. So solid fight camp all around for both these guys. But I like Neil Magny here just a little bit more. I think that Magny is the little bit more well-rounded fighter with his 7 wins and 3 submissions versus Martin's 1 and 9. Both of them are both coming off of wins. We have Magny with his win over Jingli Li, and we have Rocco Martin with his win over Ramzan Emeev. But I like the skill set of Magny a little bit more. I think he has a little bit more a little bit sharper tools in his tool case, if you will. I think his striking output is better, his striking defense is better, obviously his takedown rate is better. The only thing Rocco really seems to excel at here is he has slightly better takedown defense and slightly better submission on average, but I don't think that's going to be enough to stop the 7-inch reach disadvantage that Martin has. I think that Neil Magny's 80-inch wingspan, which is 7 inch more than Rocco Martin's, is going to be enough given all of the other tools in the toolkit, and I think he gets it done. We are picking Neil Magny in this welterweight contest. All right, so in our next contest, we have The Sugar Show, starring Sean O'Malley taking on Eddie Wineland. And in this one, I think it's pretty obvious, Sean O'Malley is the projected winner in this one. He's 11-0. He showed how dynamic of a fighter he is. He's, willing to put on a spectacle, throw things that you don't expect, be dynamic in there. And Eddie Wineland might be a decent veteran who went out and got a win against Grigori Popov, but this is a different level of guy. Sean O'Malley is on a meteoric rise, and I do not see Eddie Wineland derailing the train here. I think that he's going to be just proof that Sean O'Malley can hang with salty veterans, guys that have seen it all, and his 24-13 record. and I don't see how O'Malley honestly loses this one. If he doesn't take it seriously, I certainly see how things won't go his way, but he is on a trajectory where he will be fighting for the Bantamweight Championship in the next year or two, and I think we'll be carrying forward till we see some real competition for Sugar Sean O'Malley. So in this one, we are picking the Sugar Show, Sean O'Malley. All right, our next one here, we're going to have Ben Askren. Oh, sorry. All right, it's not Ben Askren at all. It's Chase Hooper. Chase Hooper is going to be taking on Bruce Leroy. And I jest here because Chase Hooper kind of looks like young Ben Askren. He even has a solid submission game. He's 20 years old. He's highly talented. And let's cut to the chase here. I think he's going to defeat Bruce Leroy. Bruce Leroy is a solid fighter, middle of the pack. And he does bring, some exciting stuff. But Chase Hooper is just looking phenomenal right now. His UFC debut, he won TKO elbows against Daniel Tamor. Daniel Tamor is not an easy win. And I think Alex Caceres won't necessarily be an easy win either. But I see Hooper getting it done here. I think he has the skills to pay the bills. He's got to drop the teenage dream, fight name since he is now 20 years of age, but he's going to get it done. He's your 145-pound winner. I have no doubt in my mind. Chase Hooper, baby Ben Askren. That'd be a better fight name than the teenage dream right now. Chase Hooper gets it done. He's our featherweight pick. All right, in our next one here, we're going to have Ian, the Hurricane Heinich, take on Gerald GM3 Mearshart. And in this one, I really like Ian Heinich. I think that he is a phenomenal story. He's a great fighter. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. But I don't think he has what it takes to defeat Gerald Mearshart here. Mearshart is a phenomenal fighter. He does have some wins and losses recently. He's lost to some really good guys like Eric Anders, Kevin Holland, Jack Hermanson. But he's beaten Deron Wynn, Trevin Giles, going back, Oscar Pachoda, Eric Spike. He gets solid wins. And even though I like Heinich, he hasn't had a good win since Shoeface and Antonio Carlos Jr. And I think that honestly, I just think Mearshart's lankiness, his grappling ability, I think it's going to be a problem for Heinich. I don't think he's going to be able to punch his way out of this one. I think that he's going to end up in the deep water, end up on his back with Mearshart on top, working. And even if they do have to stand up, Mearshart is a Rufus Sport guy. He's going to be able to hang on the feet, and he has proven that he is very durable and very difficult to defeat. 6 KOs, 23 submissions. It's hard to deny that Gerald Mearshart is a veteran of this game going up against a, rather almost like a prospect. Guy's 13-3. In this one, I have to go with the proven vet here. We are picking Gerald Mearshart to pick up a win in this middleweight matchup. All right, in our next one here, we're going to have Cody, Mr. Wonderful Stamen, or the Spartan, taking on Brian Boom Kelleher. So Kelleher is coming off actually really, quick win from over Hunter Azure. He's bouncing right back into it, and he's going to be taking on another wrestler in Cody Stamen. Also, as a sidebar, Cody Stamen has a really cool kind of Batman meets Wolverine tattoo, which you'll keep an eye out for. It just looks cool the way the streaks are going through it. Total sidebar. But in this one, I do like Stamen here. I think that he is the better fighter. And despite the fact that Kelleher just came off a win against Hunter Azure, up until he clipped Azure, he was getting the break speed off him. He was having really no control, and he just managed to have that one-punch power enough to shut Azure down. Stamen has proved himself to be very durable, having never been knocked out, and his striking and takedown game is there to shut down Kelleher. In fact, I believe his takedown game will be even better than Azure's, and so he'll actually be able to take Kelleher off the feet and sap that gas tank, sap that power, and make it so that he can take a couple of, tired, labored shots from Kelleher, especially in the later rounds. Also, we got to note that even though he's coming off of a draw, that Song Yadong fight probably should have been a win for him and not a draw, and he also has a win against Alejandro Perez. I like him here. I think he's a great fighter. I think that he's going to be able to defeat Kelleher, and we'll see how things play out on Saturday, but I am picking Cody, the Mr. Wonderful Stamen, to pick up a win in this bantamweight contest. All right, this next one here, I want to pick the Hawaiian fighter, but I cannot. He does not win on the numbers. So I have to go with Charles Byrd, Kid Dynamite, not really a kid anymore though, at 36 years of age, taking on Coconut Bombs himself, Maki Pitolo. Now, I was high on Coconut Bombs coming into the UFC. He looked like he had a great highlight reel, but ultimately I think he was just fighting on, an island. He's fighting with, not a big pool of competition, and he looked better than he actually was. And when he arrived in the UFC, he did not prove himself against Callan Potter, even though he did look good in the Dana White Contender Series. Charles Byrd, I think, is going to present similar problems to him. However, the Fortis MMA team is not the best in the business. They have struggled as of late. So it is possible that Byrd could, lose here. I don't know where his team is at. I don't know where he is at. He's a 10-6 fighter himself. He has 2 losses in a row. But they were Edmund Shabazian and Darren Stewart. Those are both hard-hitting guys. And Maki Pitolo, while he does hit fairly hard, I don't think is going to have enough to defeat Byrd here. And I am going to pick Charles Byrd to pick up a win against Coconut Bombs in this contest. In a very solid flyweight matchup, we're going to have Jussier Formiga take on Alex Perez. In this one, solid contest, but I got to go with Perez in this one. Both these guys have 23 wins, obviously 2 fewer losses for Perez with only 5 and Formiga with 7. I just like Perez here. He's a little more balanced fighter. Formiga only has the 10 submissions, no knockouts, and then everything else via decision. I like the shut-the-door quality of Perez a little bit more. I think that he's a little more dynamic. He can actually get it done on the feet. He's the younger fighter at 28 years of age, coming in his prime. The numbers shake out for him, and his body of work is very solid, having 2 fight wins in a row against Jordan Espinosa and Mark De La Rosa, whereas we know Formiga has kind of lost as he fought the best competition at flyweight, including Joseph Benavides and Brandon Moreno. However, he did defeat Davidson Figueiredo. Let's just take it back to there, who should be flyweight champion, but isn't because he didn't make weight, but just one thing to keep in the back of your mind. Either way, though, I think Alex Perez's time has come here. I think he's ready to prove himself as a top-tier opponent, and I think that he's going to get it done. I am picking Alex Perez to pick up a win in this flyweight matchup. All right, we have 2 more fights here. One, we're going to have Alonzo Menafield take on the Brown Bear, Devin Clark. And in this one, I like Menafield a lot. He is a hard-hitting guy. He has never been defeated. He is 9-0. And despite the fact that Devin Clark trains at Jackson Wink, he is a hit-and-miss guy. He has basically gone win-loss ever since 2017. He has a win over Jake Collier, lost to Jan Blachowicz. Win over Mike Rodriguez, lost to Alexander Rakic. Win over Darko Stoisic, lost to Ryan Spann, back to a win. What would logic tell you at that point? He's due for a loss. I'm sure Vegas is taking into consideration because he is not the favorite in this one, not by a good long shot. So Alonzo Menafield here. This would be some solid competition for him. He has fought the likes of Vinceus Castro, as well as Paul Craig here, but I think this would probably be the best striker that Devin Clark is going to, or in Devin Clark, that Menafield is going to take on. If he can prove himself against Menafield, he can prove himself against other opponents, and I really like him here. I think that he's going to have a good time at light heavyweight. Menafield looks built for the division, and I think he's going to be able to shut down Devin Clark, the Brown Bear, despite his top-tier training and his good credentials. I do like him here. Also, another thing, too, even though Clark is a little bit lanky, Menafield does actually outreach him. Actually, they're basically the same size, 6 feet each, with a 1-inch reach advantage for Menafield. So I am picking Alonzo Menafield in that light heavyweight matchup. Then at catchweight, we're going to have Evan Dunham take on Herbert Burns. I don't have a lot of information on either one of these guys, but I do like Herbert Burns here a little bit more. I think that he's looking like a really solid competitor. Trains out of Hard Knocks 365. Great submission game. He's looking phenomenal, and I think that he'll be able to defeat Evan Dunham in this one. So I am picking Herbert the Blaze Burns to pick up a win in this featherweight matchup. Oh, my mistake. This is actually going to be a catchweight fight, so I'd have to assume 150 pounds. All right, so let's go over them one more time. We have Nunes, Asuncao, Sterling, Magny, O'Malley, Hooper, Mearshart, Stamen, Byrd, Perez, Menafield, and Burns to round things out. Those are your picks for UFC 250. So if you have any questions, please reach out to the Fighting Spirit Podcast at fightingspiritpodcast@gmail.com. Leave a comment on the Facebook page. Get on the Patreon. get those fight picks. Like I said, 3-0 last week. We're hoping to go another 3-0 this week. Keep you in the green, keep you in the money, and we're hoping to have the best picks in the biz. We're coming hot off of last week. We're hoping to hold that momentum into UFC 250, and I am liking where we stand because sometimes when my heart doesn't agree with the picks and my brain, pushes forward, that means they're good picks. When I'm worried about them, I actually like them. All right, so I will be back to talk to you guys after UFC 250 with our next set of fight picks let's go over the new contest we have coming up. So let's see, we are going to be at UFC 250 on Saturday, but after that, we actually have a small layoff according to the site here. Looks like we will not be back until June 20th, but we know things are up in the air right now as far as the UFC taking place or any live sporting event, so something could fill in there. I'm sure we'll have more information very soon about whatever the next contest is going to be. But until I speak with you again, happy fight picking.